Hey, AJ, how you doing, mate?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
It's a lot warmer than it was last week.
I feel like a chicken in an oven.
Yeah?
Yeah, I might have said this last week on the show, but it's as true now as it was then.
Yeah.
Just really don't feel the heat that well.
You don't like it, no?
No, I'm not a fan.
No.
I'm not a fan. This is too warm.
Well, I managed to get 20 minutes in the garden before you came along, so I've been busy all day. So I was glad to get sat out there. Didn't realise how warm it was. Earlier this morning, I was doing a little bit of sort of work. We've got house visitors, should I say? We've got
four-legged kind.
No, we've got we've got birds in the attic.
Oh, sound.
And maybe squirrels as well. So I don't know. Something's going
on.
There. Something's occurring upstairs. We might even have, I don't know. We might have somebody living there for all we know. We might have an imposter.
I mean, has Frank been taking food up there?
No, he doesn't go up there, does he?
I suppose not. No.
The only time that we go up there is when we're putting Christmas gear or Easter gear or Halloween gear up in there.
So you could conceivably have any one of the Grim Reaper or Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny living in your attic.
Yeah, but quite often we have we have owls on the roof.
Cool. Love
that. At night time, we don't see them obviously because we're here, but our next door neighbour often tells us that she can see a resident owl sitting on the roof.
How on earth has she seen your roof from there?
Binoculars.
She's weird, your neighbour.
Yeah. Listen, she doesn't listen to this, I don't think so. If she does, she's not weird. Honest, I promise. So yeah,
bit weird.
It is a bit warmer today, but yesterday it wasn't particularly warm.
No, it was quite blustery.
It looked as though. What day was it yesterday?
It was Wednesday.
It was Wednesday yesterday.
Yeah.
I've lost my days, you see, because went to Bryn's funeral. That was on Tuesday, wasn't it? Tuesday morning.
Sure. How was it?
Very sad, but very uplifting as well to see how well liked he was.
Yeah, of course.
And the former chairman of SCEM, Arthur Gore, who was really good friends with him, he delivered a eulogy that summed him up up to the T. Really lovely, and he just touched so many people's lives. Yeah. And like Arthur said, it was a pleasure to deliver the eulogy. From his perspective, it was a pleasure to be at his funeral. 79 years of age. I still think that's relatively young these days.
So do I, yeah.
But yeah, he lived a life which was full of... Incidentally, he had one job all his life.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a housing manager at West Lancashire Borough Council. Or it was West Lancashire District Council when he was working.
Yeah.
And he was a housing manager there for all his working life. You'll never ever have anything like that ever.
No.
You won't hear many people that have had the same job.
Their entire...
No,
I haven't.
No. Nobody, I don't think many people do these days.
No, I don't think they do.
He was very meticulous in everything he did. His paperwork was immaculate. His accounting, in terms of, he was the club secretary.
Of course, yeah.
His secretarial work was impeccable.
Yeah.
If you could learn from anyone, he was the man to learn from.
Sounds good.
So yeah, another good guy gone to the big football stadium in the sky. So God bless him. And yeah. So what have you been watching? Have you been watching anything on telly? Or have you had time? First, no. Listen, forget what you've been watching on telly for now. You achieved a remarkable time in your marathon, your Black Pearl Marathon on Sunday. Explain.
Yeah. So yeah, it was my first marathon. I'd done it in 3 hours and 49 minutes on 6 weeks preparation for it.
That's amazing.
Well, it's not too bad.
Yeah. So what was did you work out what your pace was per mile then?
So for the first half of the marathon, it was 8 minutes 35 seconds per mile.
Yeah.
Then miles 10 through... miles about 13 through 17 were probably about 9. And then I think the last 10k, last 6 miles were probably 9.5 minutes to the mile. Yeah, it was quite difficult in that second half.
Going back previously when I was a lot younger, obviously, and I used to do marathons myself, I know how difficult it is, particularly when you first start doing your first marathons, pacing yourself, timing yourself, because sometimes you can go out too slow thinking that you're doing yourself a favour later on in the later stages of it, but it's a false economy.
Yeah, you sort of get, or the opposite happens and you kind of get swept up in the flow of everybody running. So there was a marathon and a half marathon, and they both set off at the same time, and then they conjoined together on the main road through Blackpool by the promenade. So there was all mixture of marathon runners and half marathon runners running together in synchronisation for the first lap. So the lap of the course is 13 miles. So marathon runners do 2 and half marathoners do 1. So that second lap was noticeably quieter and noticeably lonelier for your marathon runners the more the fields kind of spread out.
Give us an idea of what the route was, where it started.
So we started at the promenade. So if you know Blackpool, you know that there's like the main road, and there's a bit of a promenade there, and then you've got a promenade about halfway down the cliff face as well. So it started on the lower promenade just outside the Grand Hotel, which is the big massive brown one on the seafront. You start there, and then you run up onto the main road, and then you go down towards St Anne's. So you run all the way down the front of Blackpool's main road, all the way down to where the tram
Stargate.
Yeah, if you like.
Station.
Yes, all the way down to there, which is where Blackpool becomes St Anne's.
Yeah.
Okay, then you loop into the nice housing street, and then you rejoin the main road. And
Does it go as far as Fairhaven Lake?
No, nowhere near
so
there.
You don't go past the St Anne's, Lytham St Anne's Pier or anything?
No,
nowhere
close. Yeah, it would have been. But no, it's the depot. That's it, the tram station depot.
Yeah.
Where they all sort of turn in for the night, if you like.
So I've noticed you say depot, I say depot. I've noticed you say promenade and I say promenade.
Well, we're
from Yorkshire, I'm from Lancashire.
Exactly.
I'm from Merseyside.
Exactly, and I think the tale is telling there in how we speak, to be honest. When somebody gives you bread shaped in in a particular shape.
A spherical kind of.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be very interesting to see what we call it then.
A loaf or a ball of bread.
Yeah, a ball of bread. Yeah.
Is that what you call that, ball of bread?
God, no, that's not what I call it at all.
What would you call it?
Bread roll.
A bread roll?
Yeah, it's bread roll.
Oh, so we're talking about a bun?
We're talking about a bread roll, but I assume that's what you lot call it over here.
Well, I don't know. There's that many different kind of breads, isn't there?
Oh, God, there's about three.
You have a hot dog roll?
Well, yeah, but that's sort of oblong and stuff. I'm talking about the ones that traditionally have a burger in them.
A bam. It's a bam cake.
And there it fucking is.
Started your story very early on in the show. So listen,
anyway,
is it something that you would repeat? Would you go back to the Blackpool one, or is that now that it's done, you wouldn't do it again?
No, I'd go back. I won't go back anytime soon because I want to explore other routes and what have you. If I was looking to bring down my marathon time, that would probably be where I'd go and do it because it's very flat. The closest that you get to any kind of hill is when you're going back up Blackpool. You actually go past the Grand Hotel and the start line, and you actually head towards Bispam. Okay, and then you kind of go off the main road and onto like the undulating footpath for a couple of miles before you hairpin bend back down onto the lower promenade and then all the way to the finish line. Okay, so I did 2 laps of that. But because it's very flat, it's a great opportunity to kind of pull out a PB there. But I want to do, there's loads of other, and there's one in obviously there's one in Manchester, but there's also one in Chester as well, which looks pretty good. And then I've always wanted to do Leeds because of its affiliation with the Motor Neuron Society with Rob Burrow. So yeah, I've got a couple that are kind of on my radar. Maybe not this year, certainly next year I'll give one a crack.
Yeah. So my cousin Eddie did his first ever marathon many moons ago now. I think it was the London Marathon that he did.
Yeah.
And 2 hours 45 minutes.
Christ!
But I don't know whether he'd ever repeated anything like that. I certainly don't know or heard of him doing it. But he just went flat out and he didn't stop. A bit like Forrest Gump. He just went for it. He didn't seem to have any fear at all. And I think that's probably the difference between someone that's going to stick at it. Because a marathon's all about personal bests, isn't it? And I know a lot of people have done the first marathon and then the second marathon's been slower. And that puts them off and they tend not to do it again. But it's all down to timing and training, isn't it? And making sure that you've got
enough miles in the tank.
You've conditioned yourself as well, the right foods. So in terms of, I take it you did the whole run without stopping, did you? Or did you have to stop?
I stopped once because of cramp in my hamstring.
So you got a bit of physio, did you?
No, I just walked.
Right.
Very, very fortunate I was. I happened to stop with cramp right alongside a lady who had a massive bag of Percy Pig sweets and a bottle of water. And so she gave me a massive bag of Percy Pig sweets, which as a vegetarian is one of the very few sweets that I can actually eat.
All right.
But yeah.
Are you sure she was a real living person or an angel sent?
Oh, I think she was probably one of both, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, she had an Ironman Wales hoodie on as well, so that kind of completed the affiliation. I ended up taking a bottle of water and a bag of sweets off her, and I was rejuvenated, and so ran the last 6 miles. So that was when my legs, when I knew that they weren't conditioned for anything sort of beyond that.
But you've not had a great deal of preparation. Is that your first marathon?
It is.
So your very first marathon. So that's a great time.
It's not bad
to post for your first one.
Particularly with the lack of preparation. If I had more, I'm really confident that I would have got under 3.5 hours. But I mean, it's learning.
And what's your ultimate goal by the time you've got to your 5th marathon? Under 3 hours?
Yeah. I'd love to get under 3 hours. That'll take a lot of graft.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think anybody that gets under 3 hours, that's a decent time.
Yeah.
Unless you are a really conditioned full-time athlete.
Yeah.
I think anything under 3 hours for a normal jobbing marathon runner.
Yeah, exactly. Because they were talking about people who'd, completed it in really, really good times. And like Sebastian Vettel, the former Formula One driver, he'd run the London Marathon this year. It was his first one, and he got just under 3 hours. I was thinking to myself, but how much time have you prepped? What kind of personal trainer have you got? What kind of personal chef have you got? And what kind of conditioning and sports physio have you got behind you as well? You absolute freak millionaire.
And in terms of the world record is 1 hour
59 and 30.
30, is it?
Yeah.
I thought it had been broken. But
it was. Well, yeah, it was. This was what occurred on Sunday. It was the first official sub 2 hour marathon time
in the world.
Mm-hmm.
First official. What was the original one?
So Eliud Kipchoge did run a marathon in under 2 hours, but it was under ideal conditions. So he had pacers. It wasn't an official race. He did it in specialised trainers as well. So all the conditions were like absolutely perfect for him to do it. Yeah. And he did it. But that was back in 2019. But this one, it was a gentleman. It was his first London Marathon. And he, smashed it. He went and ran some absolutely ludicrous average times and came over the finish line.
It's very difficult really to have an honest world record, isn't it, when it's run on so many different circuits?
Yeah, this is true.
What was the winning time in Blackpool?
2 hours. I think it was 2 hours 9.
Wow, that's a fabulous time.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, there are people here who, they dedicate them
the
so
London
much.
Marathon was on the same day, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, how many people were competing?
In London or in Blackpool?
In Blackpool?
670.
All right. Any particular reason why they run it at the same time?
No, I think for the logistical...
Do they always do that?
No, I think it's just the logistical purposes of ensuring that the streets are clear, the weather's going to be good, they can get the relevant stewarding and security and logistics teams to all come together to do it at that time. I mean, I think that was just it. There wasn't any intention to steal the thunder from London. Let's have a look. Yeah, I've just got the results up. 2:36 was the winning time, and he belonged to a club as well. So,
and where were you in the 600 nod?
I was 245th.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's not bad.
To get in the top 50%. That's brilliant, isn't it?
I like to think that's where.
So that's around about 40, top 40, is it?
Yes, I think so. Yeah. Maybe a little less than 40%, but I'm really quite pleased with that one. My legs were in a bit of pain afterwards.
How do you feel today?
I'm all right today. I can't run. Well, I've not chosen to run. There is a couple of...
You need to have, in order to do that now, if you wanted to carry on running this week, you'd have had to have some kind of physio, wouldn't you? Really?
I would have done. I'd have gone to a sports therapist and had a full massage and all the equipment that goes with it. But instead, I had an ice bath when I got home, which was about... What time did I get home? 4 o'clock, I think I got home. So the marathon started at 9. I finished just before 1 o'clock. And then... What did it take? No, I got home at 3. That was it. So then I sat in a cold bath. Tried to get my body temperature down. Didn't quite work. Spent the rest of the afternoon laid up in bed. Then, I just couldn't get my temperature down. So it was so hot that I couldn't get to sleep. So I ended up getting back into a cold bath at about 10 o'clock in the evening. Yeah. Just to, as I say, keep cool. And then that was it. I was fine. Afterwards, fell asleep the next day. Woke up and was really quite sore. And then the day after that, I was a bit sore as well. Yeah. I feel better now.
Well, your muscles are taking an absolute hammering.
Yes, they have.
You can't recover from that anytime quick.
Well, no, and it was the first time that I'd done anything beyond 19 miles as well, because that was as far as I'd gone during training. It was 19. So with that in mind, I think I should have been expecting some kind of physical blowback from it.
Yeah. So 2 quick questions before we finish talking about your marathon.
Yeah.
1, did you wear a Kiss Me Quick hat?
No, it was Nike, plain black.
Did it? Right, okay. And the second question is, did you get me a sticker rock?
No.
Goodbye, everyone. I just thought I'd throw that one in.
Fine.
I don't eat rock anyway, you know what I mean?
So what are you mooning for that?
Because you know what, because we did that walk, didn't we, from...
Yes.
Listen, that was bad enough in itself. I did the 13-mile walk the other week with Craig and James, didn't I? From Lytham St Anne's all the way up to Blackpool Town and back again.
Yes, you did.
And under normal circumstances, I would have been great, but my back gave way.
Yeah.
And 2 parts of my body were walking separately. So
yes, they were.
My bottom part of the body was going to the right, and the top half of my body was going to the left.
It's really helpful.
And I was in terrible, terrible pain by the end of it.
Yeah.
And I noticed I was walking funny whilst I was on the approach to the tower, but had no pain. But obviously, when you're walking in that position, eventually it's going to hurt.
Yes.
And it had impact, and that's what happened. And I'd only done 13 miles walking.
And you still didn't give me a stick of Blackpool Rock back either.
Well, I've got something to tell you there.
Oh, I have you know.
Yes, I've got a present for you.
Oh?
I've got a stick of rock.
Is it for me?
No, because you didn't get me one. I'm having it myself.
You're a real piece of work, you.
Listen, so what have you been watching on the telly anyway? Because I want to tell you about what I've been watching as well.
I'm sure. All right. So I've actually started watching The Crown.
The Crown?
Yeah, it's the drama based on the royal family, sort of from the end of the Second World War.
Oh, I started watching that. I watched that all the way up to the... I don't think I've watched the latest series, which was about Lady Di, wasn't it? Princess Di and
If you say so.
Charles. I think so. I watched it. Very, very interesting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Some of it's based on truth, and some of it's based on.
Yeah, you'll never know the full truth.
Yeah, no, of course not. So I actually watched one episode just by itself, which was in season. I think it's season 2. Maybe it's 3. I'm not sure. The Queen has a bit of not a dilemma, but it's during the Aberfan disaster of 1966. The mining one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You remember that? You weren't born, but you remember it.
Oh, I remember it from the show as well.
Sure, exactly. So it's widely regarded as one of the best episodes on the series, and it's one of the most intricate addresses of Aberfan as a disaster in sort of fictional television. Mm-hmm. So it kind of goes through the Queen's moral dilemma of whether to visit or not. It goes through, I think it was Prince Charles who ends up going there to visit the site.
Young Prince Charles at the time.
Exactly, a very young Prince Charles goes to visit, and the exchange between the Queen and Harold Wilson, the Prime Minister at the time. And because my family are Welsh, that made it a bit more of a storyline that I had more of an interest in. So I watched that episode about 6 months ago or something like that. Thought it was brilliant, but never really thought about going back to watch the entire series. So now I have, and I've just finished the first season, which surrounds the Queen when she just ascends to the throne, Princess Margaret, and her relationship with Peter Townsend, the RAF captain, and then also the passing over of the prime ministerial duties from Winston Churchill to Anthony Eden.
The trouble with anything like that, as you just alluded to before, is a little bit like the artificial intelligence information that we're getting now on social media. When you're watching something like that, you could start to believe some of it, and a lot of it is jazzed up, isn't it? To make it more interesting.
Yeah.
We'll never know the full truth.
No.
But what's your feel on the royal family? Are you a royalist?
No, I've never agreed with the national anthem because I think that's far too sycophantic, to be honest. I used to like the royal family when I thought that they might be doing good for the tourism section of Britain, but I don't even think they particularly do that. I don't really think that there's any, in this changing world that we're in right now, has there ever been a need for a royal family?
Well, let's say that. Let's say yes and no, and then of course King Charles has been over to the States.
Yeah, he has.
And he's
proud of him for that.
He's absolutely he's done us a massive favour, hasn't he? In terms of he's not the right words for it, but he's been a revelation out there. His sense of humour, his directness as well. He's passed it off both ways.
Yeah.
I think unless it was artificial information again, I think he turned around and said, I did hear President Trump, I did hear you say somewhere that I won't bore you with the impression, but he did say about I think Trump had said somewhere that we saved you from talking German, and he turned around in return and said, I have to remind you that we saved you from talking French.
Yeah.
I don't know that. I'm assuming that was true. That was actually him. And
yes, it was.
The conversation.
Yeah,
I've not watched it all yet, but I've watched little bits of it, and he's really, really funny.
He is,
and I think he's put things into perspective. And if anybody feels for 1 minute that Britain and America don't have a really good bond after that, I think he's done a big sort of PR job on the country there.
I think he's. Oh, I don't know how to describe it. I think he's held up our diplomatic end in the same way that, for all his faults, Keir Starmer's done with the Iran invasion. I think both of those have kind of fighting the good fight for what it is to be British.
But this is where a royal family can help overseas diplomacy.
Yeah.
Because politics gets in the way of niceness. And sometimes we have to remind each other that we can be nice. I think he's done a good job at that, King Charles.
Well, I think he's got a bit of a battle on his hands with what they've got going on over there at the White House. But yeah, I think he's said what most of us were thinking, but in a very diplomatic manner.
And a very humorous way as well. He could definitely be a stand-up comedian based on that.
I think somebody ghost wrote that for him. They often do. It's I doubt very much they were his words. I think he's still got to deliver it, haven't you? He does have to deliver it, and I think if you're talking about how he delivers it, then that in itself is probably an achievement. It was an achievement. Yeah, very much so. Yeah, so all right, fair enough, Bonnie King Charlie. You've done all right there. I'm still not. The jury's still out for me on the royal family.
I can understand everybody that has an argument against the royal family. Yeah. I think one of the biggest things people say when they bring millions of pounds into the country, a lot of people turn around and say, well, they actually bring it into the sort of central London. It doesn't really get spread out very much. And I probably understand that. In terms of whether we need one, whether we can justify having one, in terms of the costs, I'd like to believe that it's true that the money that they bring into the country outweighs the cost of them. So I'm sort of pro royal family. I like listening to them. I like listening to all that. It makes life interesting, doesn't it? Particularly when they've had the fallout with Prince Harry, and then of course more recently the Andrew Mountbatten saga as well. I mean, listen, there's a lot not to be desired about the royal family, but there's still. I think certainly the timing was good for Prince Charles, King Charles, to go over there and deliver that kind of PR stunt. I think it's been brilliant. It's good time for him. But I've been watching a programme called The Widow.
Cool.
So I think it's ITVX, and the lead actress is Kate Beckinsale.
Oh, that's
yeah, really, really good. It's about a woman. She becomes a widow because her husband dies in a plane crash.
Okay.
And some time later, there's an explosion in another country, in the Congo or somewhere like that, and Congo. Yeah, I'm right first time. And on the TV reports that are relayed back, she sees him in the airport or something, and then she goes out then to find him, and then everybody's trying to stop her. So I've got quite far into it now. It's a really good series, really worthwhile watching it, and I would imagine it's fairly high budget as well because of all the.
Well, Kate Beckinsale's in it.
Yeah.
It's not exactly a low budget herself.
No. And I think somewhere in it, and I've only seen him briefly come into it, and I thought he'd stay in it. Who was the other actor? I think Taron Egerton makes an appearance in it.
Oh.
He's in everything, isn't
he? He's in a lot at the minute, and so he should be, to be fair to him. He's very good at what he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think...
He's one of the top paid British actors now.
Circuit.
He's done really well for himself. And I think I've told you the story that my next door neighbour, the one that knows about the owls, she's related to Taron Egerton.
No kidding. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Huh.
I think the cousins, like that. Yeah, I know.
That's a good 60.
So we found out about Taron Egerton before he became famous.
Okay.
Because she was talking about him.
Right.
So he was a Welsh actor, I think, from Aberystwyth originally. And he was acting in them areas, Fringe Theatre, thing like that. And then eventually he got his break. The Kingsman, didn't he?
He did do the Kingsman,
he's done everything. He's done Elton John, hasn't he, since?
Yes, he was Elton John. He just did a movie called Apex with Charlize Theron, where he actually, for the first time in his life, plays a bad guy. Yeah, he plays a bad guy.
I've not watched it yet.
So Jamie and I watched that. We thought it was great.
Is that out on Netflix, is it?
Yes, it is.
Is it, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
It's well worth watching, is it?
I'd say so.
Is it a little bit too dark, though? I hate things that go too dark.
No.
Too deep. No. A bit of comedy in there.
No.
I'm coming for you. I'll give you a head start. Is that the kind of thing it is?
Yeah, a little bit.
Say cat and mouse sort of chase.
Yeah.
But he's chasing a woman, isn't he?
Yes.
She's hunting her down.
Yes, but not for that purpose. Well, yeah, he's going to kill her. That's the idea.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's the idea.
He's going to tickle her to death, not shoot her.
Yes, that's the one. He's going to start telling jokes and singing.
Well, you said about
so there you go. Apex.
Yeah, I'm going to recommend that to Rowena and we'll start watching that one.
Yeah, so Apex, The Widow, The Crown. There's your three.
Yeah, brilliant. Nice one.
Cool.
So, listen, anybody out there wanting to watch a couple of things there, then The Crown, if you've not already watched it, The Widow and The Apex.
Yeah.
And we'll be doing a review next week of...
We certainly will.
Yeah, we'll have to do...
We're doing a spin-off of the show, like the Speaking Frankly TV show.
Well, you know what? It's a bloody good idea.
No, it's not. We don't have time.
It is, but no, we don't really. But if we could review one thing a week... You know what I was going to do today, but I'm going to leave it for next week because I'm hoping we've got Andy Barlow on next week as a co-host. And I was thinking of having some kind of quiz next week. I think we've talked about it before, and I think it's about time we had a quiz.
Oh, God.
I'd like somebody to set the questions and maybe quiz all three of us about things that have happened this season on the series. Things that we've probably forgotten about now. Well, we will have forgotten about now because we can't remember what we talked about 2 minutes ago.
No, we can't.
Yeah, but what do you think? Quiz next week?
It's worth a shot.
Should we get somebody on that's...
A quizmaster?
Yeah, we could do with a quizmaster, couldn't we?
Yeah, Kevin Lawton.
Kevin Lawton, yeah. Ask him if he'll come.
Exactly.
Listen, for now anyway, we'll...
Swan dive into the football.
Yeah, and it's not going to be a big show by any... Well, listen, we might stretch it out a little bit, might we? We'll see you soon. Hello and welcome to the Speaking Frankly Football Show. I'm Frank Hughes, the chairman of Skelmersdale United Football Club, and alongside me is my co-host and passionate press officer AJ Vergette. Not that being involved with the football club is a prerequisite for hosting a football podcast, but it certainly helps. We are ready to dive headfirst into the vibrant world of non-league football in the Northwest, and we might even take a moment to discuss some of the bigger headlines in the sport. We'll explore life in the Northwest counties, bring you interviews with well-known faces in the league, and analyse how local teams are performing while making bold predictions for their upcoming matches. Nothing is off the limits here. We'll be diving into all kinds of topics, including complicated refereeing decisions and regulations that often leave fans perplexed. We want to hear from you too. This is your show, so don't hesitate to reach out with topics you want us to tackle. Let's get this conversation started and enjoy every single moment. We are speaking frankly. Hello and welcome to the Speaking Frankly Football Show. This is episode 40 in Series 2. Incredible. A warm welcome to you all and of course my co-host AJ Vergette.
Happy 40th, Frank. Hello everyone, welcome to the Speaking Frankly Football Show with me, AJ Vergette, and Mr. Frank Hughes. So as the season draws to a very, very close conclusion now, we're in the last couple of games of the season and there's still everything to play for across all three leagues and a cup game to go. So we'll do our standard Northwest Counties Football League roundup and then we will immediately look further afield to the Northern Premier League and the National League as well. And then we'll look in Controversial Corner where the big questions are surrounding Portishead Town and Abbey Hey, and then also a little bit of speculation on City of Liverpool. We've got no guests, so we'll power on through to our usual post-match, post-interview summary on Skelmersdale United, followed by fixtures and predictions and before we close out this 40th episode. So Franklin, where are we first?
Well, we start off with the Northwest Counties Roundup and the Premier Division. So the playoff semi-finals took place over the weekend, and it's clear at this stage any team can win. Padiham beat Atherton LR 2-0 away. from home. Unfortunately for David Jones's team, who were slight favourites considering they had the home advantage and the form that they've been showing. Davy, though disappointed, will know things that could have been dramatically different had they not suffered setbacks in October and November when they really, really struggled to win a game. But on the bigger picture, his words as well. This team was only promoted at the end of last season, so their first season in the Premier Division has been an incredible journey, and they can really be extremely proud of themselves. Sean Lynch and, of course, all the others have been doing a superb job behind the scenes, but disappointing for Davey.
A little bit disappointing, yeah. I mean, I think for once they sort of thought conceivably that they could get into the playoffs, and then when they secured their place in the playoffs, I think that they were just reaching ceiling after ceiling here. I don't know what kind of expectations Davey and Sean would have had at the beginning of the season, but I don't think having home advantage in the playoff semi-finals and finishing in the top 3 would have been there. So I think they must have exceeded all their expectations. So now they've got to use this as a platform to build on, because I honestly think that they, next season, if they have, they bring in a few reinforcements, expand the squad a little bit, they could easily be back in the playoffs again next year. But it's a hell of a journey for all the guys at LR, and there's going to be disappointment that they couldn't beat Padiham and make it to the final, but what an unbelievable season for them.
And sort of going on from what you've just said there, Chadderton defeated Ramsbottom 1-0 away from home, so once again what you've said there about the home advantage is not really worked at all, but probably a little bit more heartbreaking because they conceded an 88th minute goal from none other than Lewis Byrne, who's been in absolute tip-top condition all season. Is that his 63rd, was it?
63rd goal of the season.
So that dashed Ramy's hopes of a final, which was similar to last season when they lost in the semis to Padiham 2-1. Padiham, if you remember, also lost in the final to Lower Breck.
Yeah, they did
last season. So I mean, who do you think out of those two teams now? So we've obviously got the
fourth place Chaddy versus fourth place Paddy versus fifth place Chaddy. So the lower two of the.
So Padiham are going to have the home advantage, but you just said there, you just alluded to it. It's not going to make a great deal of difference, this home advantage.
No, not at all. And I honestly thought because Chadderton are the only team of all those semi-finalists who play on a artificial pitch. All the others play on grass. But Chadderton somehow made it work for them. For me, I think this is Padiham's to lose, and I'll say why. They aren't high goal scoring, but they've been here before. They were there last year. They lost to Lower Breck, probably in a manner that we thought this might happen last year. We thought that Lower Breck were going to win this, and so it proved. But Padiham have got that experience of having been there before. Chadderton missed out on the playoffs last season, so this is slightly newer territory for them. So maybe that'll kind of come into play here. Padiham's defence is also, quite mean. It's been in good form. Shutting out Atherton Alar is no easy feat either. So for me, I think Padiham could do it. I really do.
Yeah, I think based on all the statistics, me personally, I believe it'll be the goal scoring that changes this game, and I just think Chadderton, and listen, we'll come on to what our predictions are, but I think Chadderton, given the fact that they've got Benito Lowe as well as Lewis Byrne. Padiham scored 105 goals throughout the season, Chadderton 126. Not a great deal of difference in concessions, 62 for Padiham, 66 for Chadderton. I just genuinely believe that it's going to be a tale of the goal scorers, and I think Chadderton have just got enough firepower going into that final. I think that makes the difference.
All right.
I've not looked at the original fixtures between the two of them. Perhaps maybe someone, while I'm waffling away, could have a look and see how they fared it when they were playing each other last season. That might tell a tale or two. But like I say, heartbreaking for Ramsbottom. Forever the bridesmaid, never the bride. Atherton, different one, because you feel as though they can go again. But how much disappointment can Ramsbottom take before... I say how much disappointment. It happened for years with Skem. Skem, we're in the playoffs year in, year out, it seemed. And then eventually they won the league and they got the promotion to the Northern Premier League Premier Division.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying Ramsbottom can't do it at some stage. I'm just saying it puts a different complexion on it all. I don't know how... I don't know what the feeling is, from Steve. Just remind me, Steve
Wilkes.
Steve Wilkes. Steve Wilkes, he's no spring chicken, is he?
No, he's not. Just got his 300th game, 1300th game while he was out there at the tail end of the season.
He's been a long time in management. It just all depends on whether he's still got the energy to carry it on. But, I feel sorry for them because they finished in second place and had no reward for it.
I know.
It does make you wonder, really, at non-league level. I know it makes it interesting for everybody that's involved in the playoffs, but I often think whether it should be 1 and 2 automatically going on. I don't know what you think.
I don't know. I think the playoffs is just... I think the playoffs, and particularly with this season in the Premier Division, it shows exactly why the playoffs should continue to be a thing, because it's 4th versus 5th in the final. Second, third, fourth, fifth.
Second versus 5th and third versus 4th, isn't it, in the semis?
Yeah, exactly. And 2nd and 3rd are out.
Yeah.
At the semi-final stage, because fourth and 5th just proved better on the day, and that shows that it's a great achievement to maybe have not as good a result as other teams throughout the entirety of the season, but you still have that killer instinct in a playoff fixture.
It's a great showcase, isn't it, for the North West counties? There's no doubt about it. Atherton LR's game against Padiham, 516. I thought that was a little bit low. I expected it to be a little bit higher. Ramsbottom did quite a bit better, 714.
Is a bit closer proximity is Rami and Chadding. Rami is just in Bury area, whereas Chadderton is in Oldham, so they're really not far away from each other, whereas Atherton LR are on this side of central Manchester, and Padiham are all the way over in East Lancs, Burnley area, so it's a bit of a mooch over for them, which I think is probably the one thing that I would attribute that to. Anyway, going into the final, it's Padiham who have the advantage here. It was a 3-2 victory for them in October when the sides first met at Chadderton, and then when Chadderton visited East Lancashire, the Ruby Civil Arena, as it's called. Then Padiham and Chadderton played out a 3-3 draw. So both high-scoring fixtures. Yeah,
but with the advantage of 2 exceptional goal scorers. But listen, it might not count for anything in the end.
You just never know.
Depends how many knocks people are carrying.
Well, they've only got one more game, so you feel like if they bolt up on the painkillers...
just take the injections and get on with it.
So it was in the 70s.
Yeah, listen, we'll give our predictions at the end of the show. Sure. Move on to Division 1 North. Droylsden will face McGull in the final.
Yeah.
Jordan Barnett scored in the 89th minute for Droylsden, securing a 2-0 win over Squire, 2-1 win, I should say, over Squires Gate before a crowd of 964. An incredible atmosphere by all accounts as well.
Yeah, that's a great turnout at the Butcher's Arms. Exactly what Droylsden needed in a playoff game. Yeah, and somehow they found the resolve to win that game as well. So Ryan Talbot opened the scoring for Droylsden just before the hour mark, and then Scott Harries equalised for Squires Gate just a couple of minutes later. And then, as you say, Barnett with just a minute of normal time remaining, finds the winning goal for the Bloods, which sends them through to the final that will be played at Droylsden. So once again, a massive turnout is to be expected there. They've carried the fight and consistency throughout the entire season, so I think even against a good side like Maghull, I think it would shock me if Droylsden didn't get a result. But I said this again last season. They finished second last season, if memory serves, and they ended up losing to Exton Villa. In the I think it was in the final, wasn't it?
Nelson lost in the final, did they?
Right, so Droylsden lost to Villa.
Paddy beat Nelson, didn't they? No, sorry, forget what I'm saying. What am I talking about?
Yeah, no, Nelson did make it to the final. Yeah, you're right. But Droylsden were knocked out in the semis by Exton Villa, and Nelson beat Holker Old Boys. That was it.
So listen, they're going to be playing Maghull. Maghull beat MSB Walton 4-2 at Jericho Lane in front of 295 spectators. That's a little bit more disappointing.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
I question what the attraction of these community hubs is. Whether it's down to that, I don't know. Because there's not a great deal of distance between the two teams, to be fair.
It certainly isn't.
But MSB Walton, a little bit like Squires Gate, really, they can hold their heads up really high. Particularly for MSB Walton, their first season in the National League system.
Finishing third,
finishing third. Obviously, one step too far for them this time. But going back to Squires Gate, as we know, got relegated last season. And it was last season, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, they got relegated last season. And a little bit like Ramsbottom a few seasons ago, have not managed to get that promotion back there. But then we didn't expect Squires Gate, the way they started, we didn't expect them to get anywhere near the top, did we?
We didn't. No, we thought they'd finished sort of middle of the pack, quite an uninspiring season, and it looked like they were on course for that at Christmas time, but a major turnaround in performances and results see them rocket their way up into the playoffs. So this is a season of a good start, if you like, for Squires Gate as they look to get back to Counties Premier. So not this time around. Droylsden just proving too much, but they go again next season, as most of them do. But as for Maghull, we knew that the strength of their squad going into the game against MSB Walton, they got off the mark in perfect style. Nathan Moffat opening the scoring after 4 minutes, and it stayed 1-0 all the way up until just before the hour mark. Connor Rankin doubled the lead. MSB Walton did come back into it through Sean Smallwood, but then Jamie Clark with a penalty and Sam Smith pulling Maghull 3 goals ahead. Joe Harvey did reduce the arrears but to 2, but Maghull held on, and now they've got a trip to Droylsden next week.
And a decent little payout if they have a decent enough crowd there, which I would imagine now. That final, which will take place on Saturday, of course, is going to have in excess of 1,000.
Oh, yes, I think there's going to be a bumper crowd there, to be honest. I mean, we know Droylsden are well supported anyway, but Maghull can pull in a good 400 on their day. So, I think that'll be a 1,000 attraction, definitely.
I'm quite decided what I'm doing at the weekend, but I would like to get involved somewhere. I don't know what I'm going to have to pick a game. Yeah, I've got to be at one of them.
Yeah, no.
But anyway, listen, we move on to Division 1 South.
Quite so.
Eccleshaw beat Stafford Town 5-1. I didn't expect it to be as big a win as that, but they'll now meet Stockport Georgians, who narrowly defeated New Mills 1-0. So a little bit of a shock there. I didn't expect Stockport Georgians to win.
No, I didn't either.
But it set up an interesting final, and of course Eccleshaw will have the home advantage on that one.
Yeah,
Looking at the crowds there, Eccleshaw 323, quite a bit up on what they average normally throughout the season, so that was a good gate for them, I guess. New Mills, Stockport Georgians, 465, decent gate at New Mills.
Well, quite local to each other are those two. I think it's just up the A6 into Derbyshire that you take to get to New Mills' ground, so that's a decent turnout for both teams, to be fair.
Yeah. We'll talk about what we think
later on in the show.
What we think the results are going to be of that. So the First Division's Cup congratulations to Runcorn. They've done the double by beating Nelson 3-1 in the final.
Yep.
I think we might have, I don't know, I've not looked at the
No,
results.
we did. Both of us predicted that Runcorn were going to win that one.
We got it right, did we?
We did.
Should we talk numbers here then?
All right then.
I mean, let's see, what did I do? So we can't predict tonight's game because we're recording now.
Yeah.
But I didn't do particularly well considering there was not that many games.
Well, you and I think this was a focal point of discussion was that
we had a tiebreaker, didn't
we were having a tiebreaker, yeah. And it was going to go your way until Liam Kennington netted a 95th minute penalty for Runcorn Town to see them win 3-1, which I predicted over your 2-1.
Well, okay, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right. So how many have you got right?
How have you got 5?
Because I predicted that Chadderton would beat Ramsbottom.
Did you?
So what did you get?
4.
4. Okay, I'm telling Porkies here, you have won it. But if you remember, I changed my mind on that
You're
one.
a real piece of shit.
No, I'm not, because I'm dead honest at the end, I told you. Mm-hmm. But if you remember, I predicted Chadderton would beat Ramsbottom, and then it changed my mind. Purely because I was hoping for Steve
to come through.
That's purely based on the fact that he's
a good guy and we like him. And
we like all of them, don't we? But
he was the third manager.
But he's been there before, and you just wanted it to happen for them. You think eventually it's got to, but it didn't on this occasion. So what you're saying is I've lost just purely on the tiebreak.
You've lost in the very, very last minute of the game.
Right. Okay, never mind. So anyway,
normal service is resumed. I take the plaudits. There is a new king in the north.
Only for this week.
His name's AJ.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to the National League Premier because I've got a little bit of a vested interest in this. Really, to be fair.
Why do you have that?
Well, first of all,
is it York?
York. So I love York City. I love York as a city as well, and I do get up there as often as I can. To watch them play. So York City earned promotion to the Football League in dramatic fashion on Saturday. York, top of the table, played second placed Rochdale with just 2 points separating both of them. York only needed a draw while Rochdale had to win. With home advantage, the pressure was on Dale. But in the 95th minute, they scored, celebrating as if they'd won. But there's still 1 or 2 minutes left on the clock by the time the stewards had cleared the pitch.
Because there was an invasion, wasn't there?
Yeah, and order was restored. York threw everyone forward and managed to scramble a goal over the goal line.
It just about crossed the line, didn't it?
Yeah, well, I couldn't tell. All the camera angles I've seen so far, I've not seen one that convinces me it's gone over. But I've got to say, it's one of the most extraordinary conclusions to a game I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think, certainly for me. I was listening to it on the radio as I was driving into to Skem for the Skem game, and I thought that when Rochdale had scored, that was going to be it. That Rochdale would see it over the line because they scored in about the 96th minute, 97th minute, and then York score in about the 100th minute or something like that. 111th
minute or something.
111th?
Yeah, because the game had been stopped for that long. Even when they'd got the stewards had managed to get control again, they were stood on the pitch, all in the positions ready to go, and it just didn't. For some reason, he kept stopping it. And what did he? Oh, I'll tell you what it was. Or so I believe it was. That when Rochdale scored, the goal scorer threw his shirt in the crowd, and then they had to go and find a shirt.
For crying out loud.
So I think that's what delayed it. Other than the fact that they had to get people off the pitch.
Absolute.
But that was an absolute. Well, listen. Anyway, I spoke to Richard Brodie this morning. Rang me. He attended the game himself and called it one of the greatest footballer moments he's ever experienced. He said, "I've been to 26 clubs." He said, "and I've never felt anything as emotional as it did at the end of that." He said it was great to be there.
He used to play for York City.
Yeah,
he's mired as a hero at York City, if I remember rightly.
Oh, he is, yeah. And they were singing his name in the pub when he was when he was in Rochdale on Saturday. So,
amazing.
Yeah,
That's the kind of thing
I said to him before. I said he could have as much money he could have as much money as you wanted in the world, but you could never buy that kind of feeling.
Nah.
To be worshipped still,
amazing,
even after all these years.
Fair
so
enough.
For Rochdale now, they've got to regroup for the Eliminators.
Yeah, of course. So that's going to be a tricky hurdle for them. So they face Scunthorpe United on Sunday in the semi-finals. So Scunthorpe were in the 6th versus 7th eliminator against Southend United a couple of nights ago and won by a 1-0. So the advantage is really with Rochdale, considering that they've had a bit of a longer break, and Scunthorpe have to visit Scotland, a game that's already sold out. As far as I'm aware, there's due to be about 7,000 entering Scotland on that particular Sunday.
Well, that's what I think. Is that their top attendance? Is that their limit?
I think so.
I think it's bigger than that, Scotland, isn't it?
Maybe.
I think it can accommodate more, but they had over 7,200 for the game against York on Saturday, and I know that York could only get around about, I can't remember, was it 4,000 tickets? So they sold the majority of tickets.
Yeah. Scunthorpe haven't got near as much as that. They've got about 2,700
tickets.
Yes.
Yeah,
but to predict, typically enough.
I think a lot of neutrals will go to that game. But listen, what do you make
of
Robbie Savage? So Forest Green Rovers, who looked as though they were going to be up there or thereabouts at one stage of the season. We know he left Macclesfield to join
Rovers, yeah.
To join Rovers, but they were knocked out by Boreham Wood 1-0 after extra time in the first eliminator. Now,
disappointing.
It is disappointing, but what I did notice is there's not an awful lot of sympathy for Robbie Savage.
I think that was largely because of his decision to leave one of his key players on the bench until the very last minute of the game. Yeah, as far as that. So extra time obviously brings it to 120 minutes, and Robbie Savage brought on a player in the 105th minute, a player who, by all accounts, is somebody who...
Well, that's when Boreham Wood scored, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Somebody who is arguably one of their best players.
Did they score after the substitution?
I don't know, is the honest answer. I think...
Because you could obviously question the timing of a substitution, then, couldn't you? They managed to score as a result of that.
Yeah, that's true. Let's have a look.
But I just think Robbie is a little bit like Marmite, isn't he? You either love him or you hate him. And I think because we talked about it the other week, he kept people in the crowd, didn't he? Asked them to stay at the end of the game so they could practice penalties in front of a real crowd.
Oh my God!
Did we talk? I'm sure we talked about that on the show. Not that it would have given them a great advantage, because, like they say, if your own crowd are in the back of the goal, you can't really recreate a tense moment like in a final or a semi-final or an eliminator as it was.
No.
But yeah, listen, nobody likes to see.
Right at the 105th minute, they took the lead.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right on the stroke of half time and extra time, they took the lead.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, not a lot of sympathy for him. Apparently, Robbie made an awful lot of comments to sort of indicate that it would be quite a straightforward process. I think he was a bit more bullish than he should have been at this point.
Because Boreham Wood, I mean, let's be honest about it, it's only in sort of the last few years that I've sort of recognised them as a big team. You know, coming up to be a big team. I don't know what kind of backing they've got, but
no, I didn't know.
They seem to have come from nowhere.
Yeah.
And you know, we'll be competing in the first semi-final, which is against Carlisle. I would imagine Mark Hughes is going to be Mark Hughes as Carlisle are going to be the favourites going into that game.
I would have thought so. Yeah. So they finished third, I think, in the regular season, did Carlisle. So they would naturally be the favourites anyway. And then that's obviously followed up by Rochdale against Scunthorpe. And again, Rochdale, you would think that they would be favourites, but after having thrown the kitchen sink at York in that game, like how much psychologically will that have taken out of them?
I want Rochdale to win.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they do, because it's got to be absolute heartbreak. They're celebrating, think they've gone up to the Football League without the playoffs, and then York have managed to snatch one back at the death
with a potential phantom goal.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing about football. Anything. It's like, well, it's cup football. Man. Yeah. It's cup football at that stage. Isn't
it really is. Yeah, I want Scunthorpe to win because
obviously,
I grew up there. So we'll have to see how that goes. I think Rochdale will win, but I'm just rooting for Scunthorpe.
Yeah, well, you would being a Yorkshire man.
Yeah. Exactly.
Never mind. So listen, moving on to the Northern Premier League. It was a tough day for Prescot Cables on Saturday as they were relegated despite beating Bamber Bridge 2-0 in front of a crowd of 1,115 people. They just needed Whitby to lose, but they managed to draw 0-0 with Cleethorpes Town.
Yeah.
Cleethorpes...
a 9th place in the league.
You looked as though they were going to be favourites for winning it. But
yeah, you would have thought so. They'd lost their last 2 games at Cleethorpes, so they'd gone into the game on a not so brilliant run of form, whereas obviously Prescot had beaten Gainsborough Trinity the weekend before, so spirits were a little bit more optimistic going into that game. But Whitby came away with just the single point that they needed, and got out of jail on the last day to send Prescott down into the Northern Premier League West, alongside Morpeth, who were also relegated, as well as Stocksbridge Park Steels.
We've mentioned Prescott, and obviously the budget cuts that have probably pushed them down to those lower ends of the league. But with a crowd of 1,115, if they could have maintained that kind of crowd throughout the season, they wouldn't have had to reduce the budget.
No, maybe not.
And they would have fared better.
Yeah.
But listen, they did their job on Saturday.
Did everything
they had to wait for other
they?
results. But Steve Daly's took the relegation with a sort of philosophical attitude. The difference between survival and relegation was minimal.
Yeah.
But budget cuts certainly didn't help, as I just alluded to there.
Very cool.
So relegated with Prescott are Stocksbridge Park Steels and Morpeth Town. Hebburn Town champions. In the playoff final, Hensford Town will play Warrington Rowlands.
Yeah.
Stockton Town lost 2-0 to Hensford, and FC United defeated Rylands at
home. No, they were defeated by Rylands.
FC United were defeated by Rylands at home despite leading 2-1 at half time. It's nice that you're correcting me for a change. It's been a disappointing end for...
You're a cheeky bastard.
Well, listen, it's been a disappointing end for FC United, to be fair, isn't it? They looked favourites
yes, they did.
To pull something off at one stage.
Yes,
Mark
they did.
Beasley must be really... if I was him, I'd be eager to start the new season.
Yeah,
this one's got to sting.
Very much so. So they lost. They lost to Rylands in the semi-finals, despite having a 5-point advantage over them in the domestic season. But FC United won't have been helped by their last 3 games going into the playoffs. So they lost 3-2 against Ilkeston on the final day of the regular season. They drew 1-1 with Stockton in that sort of notorious, Stadium Gate, email gate, if you like, that game. All right, and then on the 18th of April, they lost 1-0 to Hyde United at home. So they were not in good shape going into the playoffs, whereas Warrington Rylands had at least beaten Warrington Town and Stocksbridge Park Steels before a final day loss to Stockton themselves. So they were in the slightly better form were Rylands, but even then they may have been confident in doing the job to beat FC United of Manchester, but I don't think anybody else was. We all thought, I assume that we all thought that this was FC United's to lose, whereas now the playoff final is going to be contested between big spending Hensford and Warrington Rylands. What an amazing playoff final that could turn out to be, to see who ends up going into the National League North. I'd love it for Rylands to be able to do.
Yeah, who's your money on that?
Hensford. Hensford, big spending team.
Yeah.
Went up
big crowd,
very
home
big
advantage.
Crowd. Yeah, absolutely. Very well backed, and this will be back-to-back promotions for them as well because they went up last season through the playoffs in Premier League West. You know, they came second behind Widnes, and then
What was the controversial issue earlier on in the season? They got rid of someone, did they?
Hensford.
Yeah.
They
got rid of the manager,
they
didn't they?
sacked their manager despite being third.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. I think they did. Yeah.
If they managed to win the final, then you could turn around and say the board of directors made the right decision.
If they don't, though, the manager will be vindicated.
Yeah, most definitely. So your money's on Hensford.
My money in my
Your
money
heart's with Mornington Rylands.
Exactly that.
Yeah. So moving on to the Northern Premier League West. Bury are champions.
Yeah, we thought that might be the case. They've been in the driving seat for a couple of games now, and they did what they needed to do on Saturday. All they needed to do was win. And they beat Atherton Collieries 3-0 on Saturday at Gig Lane to secure back-to-back promotions
at Collieries.
Oh, at Collieries, pardon me, and ensured that they will be playing Northern Premier League Premier football next season. Avro thrashed Darlaston Town 13-0. 13, yes, which raised significant questions about Darlaston's representation. A draw would have altered the goal difference significantly had Bury not won. Obviously, it hasn't mattered in the end, but I struggled to believe it myself when the comments were around saying that Avro had won 13 now. I honestly thought it was one of those joke graphics just designed to irritate Bury fans, but it turned out to be absolutely true.
Because the swing would have been enough.
Yeah,
because I think there was a 7-goal difference between Bury. Bury had 7-goal advantage. It would have been a 5-goal advantage providing Bury had a loss. And you know what? That was a difficult game there. The game against Atherton. Yeah, that wasn't a gimme.
No, it wasn't.
By any stretch of the imagination.
No,
that was a difficult place to go. And a difficult pitch to play on. Bear in mind now, Bury have a synthetic pitch themselves now.
Yeah, they do.
So going to play on Atherton's ground is...
It's not so easy, is it?
No.
But like I say, they've done what they needed to do, so they will be up playing Northern Premier football next season. How tasty will that be?
Well, it gets more and more interesting, doesn't it? Because then you get into those realms of where you
natural level,
or you're touching for the Northern, the National League North next.
Yeah,
the big step up, and there's so many good teams in that division.
In National League or Northern Premier?
The Northern Premier League, so they're going to have the work cut out next season.
Yeah, but I think they knew that anyway. I mean, it's not like they were... Well, they haven't won either of their leagues at a canter. They've had to wait until the last game of the season to do it in both leagues.
That's my worry, that the higher they get, the tougher it's going to become.
I think so.
Listen, we know it is automatically. But listen, Anthony Johnson, the manager, he expressed his pride and honour at managing his boyhood team, calling it's a dream come true. And you have to say, if anybody is the right man for the job at this moment in time, then it's definitely him.
I think so. Yeah, I think he can. He's built on the the previous incumbents' work, hasn't he? Is it Dave McNabb who was there? Yeah, exactly. So Dave has set about building a foundation, and I think Anthony Johnson has now started to build the structure that's now going into running Bury for next season. But make no bones about it, he will be in the spotlight, and I hope that he succeeds in doing this, and he flourishes in the Gig Lane hot seat, but it is a hot seat for a reason. So I hope he's prepared for that. But good luck to him.
So after that, Avro obviously were in the playoffs. They managed to beat Lower Breck 4-3 on penalties. Disappointment for us because we're big friends of Lower Breck.
And Gary Moore.
Doing a great job there. And unfortunately, it was the end of the road for them.
Yeah.
And similar, Runcorn Linnets narrowly lost 1-0 to Stalybridge Celtic, which was heartbreak for the chairman, Peter Cartledge, who we recently had on the show.
Yeah.
So feel really, really sorry for both of them. But that's it.
Yeah.
It's an all Manchester final, is it?
It is an all Manchester final against the all Merseyside commiserants. But let's just take a minute to congratulate both Lower Breck and Runcorn Linnets, because both of them have now achieved their highest ever league positions and gone further than they ever have done before in the club's histories. So that in itself is an enormous achievement for both Gary Moore and Kevin. Is it? It's not Kevin Ellison, is it? Who's the Linnets manager? Michael.
Oh, bloody, I'm forgotten.
Is it Michael Ellison?
Oh, I can't remember now. I'm getting mixed up with everything. Well, listen, when I do a little bit of talking,
yeah,
you can find out, can't you? So listen, Trafford and Wythenshawe are likely to be part of the North West Counties Premier Division next season, as they were 2 of the 4 relegated teams from that particular division.
Mm-hmm.
So go on the name. Are you waiting for me? Are you still waiting for me to waffle on? Okay. Anyway, listen, I feel particularly sorry for Lower Breck, and I think Linnets sort of have got momentum going into next season. I don't know about Lower Breck because it's an ageing team. I'm assuming, people tell me that, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult for them to pick things up again next season.
Michael Ellison. It is Michael Ellison.
Michael Ellison.
Yes, it is. So
I would have told you that.
Yeah.
If I'd have remembered.
Exactly. For Lower Breck, I think this rebuild is going to be quite... it's going to have to be quite a substantial one if they're going to compete for the playoffs again next season. They were top of the league at one point, but they kind of struggled to hold on to that grasp. They eventually...
Well, it looked as though they were going to fall foul of the playoffs at one stage, didn't it? But they just managed to stay in there.
Exactly. They were in and out for the last couple of
months. It could have been the other team. I've forgotten the name of them. Vauxhall Motors.
Vauxhall Motors, yeah. Kevin Ellison plays for.
That's it, yeah. Kevin Ellison
exactly. So they held on to the playoffs, but honestly, I thought that Breck were going to win against Avro. They took the lead very, very late on in the game. Avro, I don't know how on earth they made time to snatch an equaliser in that, but they did, and then eventually prevailed from the spot. But this team that Gary Moore had built through the counties and then into the Northern Premier League is now starting to dissipate. Players are getting older. He's having to bring in more reinforcements. So that team that we recognised from last season isn't there nearly as much anymore. Obviously Jesse Dowling left quite late on in the season. There are other players who've departed over the course of the season as well. So I think if Breck is going to stay there next season, then they're going to have to engage in quite a substantial rebuild.
But it just shows you what a remarkable job Gary's been doing there, because they've definitely been punching way above the weight.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I'd be very, very proud of that.
Well, I don't think anybody expected them to make the playoffs this season. At the beginning of the season, I certainly didn't. I thought if they staved off relegation, that would be a decent achievement for them. Just the players that they've got playing for them at the minute, we're starting to see them dissipate and kind of have come away at this point as well. I think there's going to be a bit of a shake-up at Lower Anfield, at Anfield Road. If they're going to stay there.
Listen, it'll be like that for a lot of teams. We talked about Ramsbottom, forever the bridesmaid, never the bride. You feel as though there's going to be a little bit more of a rebuild there. You don't know. Listen, if you go back to Alex Ferguson, he rebuilt teams time and time again, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
And managed to pull things off. You can't go from the Liverpool County Premier League all the way up to the Northern Premier League West and be fighting for the Northern Premier League without having a bit about yourself, can you?
No.
And I think he's proven time and time again that he can do it, and he'll go again.
Yeah.
And I think I think they'll be featuring up there. But I also think Bootle could be playing a part in the promotional battle next season as well.
I think you could be right. We've talked about Bootle quite a lot. We saw them a couple of weeks ago against Clitheroe. Yeah, and they were exceptional there. They know how to play the football. I think they could be part of it next season without a doubt.
Yeah. So moving on to the National League North, Southport finished their season with a 2-0 win over Telford, whilst Marine drew 1-1 at Sperrymore. So Marine have finished just 1 point above Southport, but there's 2 spaces between them. So I think it was 11th and 13th, is it? Or 12th and 14th, respectively.
Yep.
Radcliffe, who lost one of their co-managers, Anthony Johnson, who went to Bury, of course, they were sandwiched in between the 2 teams, finishing in 13th. AFC filed of champions. To put this into context, at the end of my last season with Skem in 2011, we lost 1-0 to them in the semi-finals of the Northern Premier League playoffs. We were the better team that season, but narrowly missed out on the title by 1 goal to Chester. Of course, keep telling that story. But
was that Northern Premier League West?
I think it was called Northern Premier League North at the time.
All right, okay.
It was changed. It was
it step 5 or 4?
Step 4.
Okay. Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
No, step 4 is the equivalent to Northern Premier League West, isn't it?
Yeah, but they were called Northern Premier League
North. Well, yes, I know. Well, if you imagine what the equivalent is today, because I don't know, 2011.
They just changed the name from North to West.
Fine.
That's but they keep changing the sponsors as well.
Faffing about.
Which makes it even more...
Well, yeah, I know.
More difficult, but... well done to AFC FAL, because I think they got relegated from the National League, didn't they?
They did, yeah. So they were relegated.
2 seasons ago or last season?
Last season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've done well to get back up again.
To the National League. Yeah, most definitely.
Good luck to them being up a North West team. So listen, anyway, well done to everybody. That's competed in the playoffs, and congratulations and those that have won, and of course those that are competing in the finals over the bank holiday weekend,
which we'll talk about later.
Yeah, we'll talk about good luck to them. So let's go to controversial corner. Stop waffling on, and we'll talk about Portishead Town. Now this has received mixed reactions. So they were expelled from the Southern League playoffs after finishing second because their stadium didn't meet the requirements. So they'd ordered, constructed and were awaiting installation of new stands, but unresolved health and safety issues meant it was unsafe to proceed. They'd requested an extension until June, which was denied. Now, obviously, there's a little bit more context to this story, if you believe it, but just on that basis there, what do you think it is? Do you think it's the right decision or the wrong decision?
No, I think this is really tight. To be honest, I'll tell you why. Is that Portishead Town knew that...
Portishead Town?
Quite. Well, they knew that...
I used to live in Portishead. Did I ever tell you I used to live in Portishead?
Yeah, you told me 2 days ago.
Did I? Oh,
yes, you did.
Only for a short period of time.
Yeah. To be fair, I think I
did. They didn't have a very good team then, back in that day, in them days. In fact, I think they were playing like on a park pitch or something.
Damn.
I can't remember now.
What an investment!
Such a long time ago.
Anyway, so yeah, they finished second in the Southern League, and were set to play in the playoffs. And now they've been told that not only can they not take part in the playoffs, they've actually been relegated from the Southern League. They knew that they had to meet certain standards and certain requirements in order to play, and they had gone about doing everything that they possibly could in order to do it, but it was out of their hands to the fact that they couldn't get that boxed off in time. They also then requested an extension until June, which was denied allegedly, and I don't think any of this is right. I think if you're making every reasonable opportunity to get these standards met before the new season as well. So bearing in mind that they've been allowed to play through that entirety of this season with allegedly substandard grading ground, then they should be allowed to have that extension in order to ensure that the work is finished. So I think this is really tight by the Southern League or the FA. I think it's a load of crap.
Well, first of all, the rules are there for a reason. So it is the ground grading has to be achieved before the 31st of March.
Yeah, but it was taken out of their hands as to why they couldn't finish it.
But
it's not only that they can't...
There might be greater context to this, though, mightn't there? Because there might have been a slow process. The process might have been slowed. I'm trying to find it here now. Somebody mentioned that this had there was a little bit more to it than meets the eye, and it was a little bit more about the club slowing down
their procedures. Well, that's shit behaviour. Why would they do that? It doesn't make any sense that they do that.
I don't know.
It's a bit preposterous.
But I'm trying to find it now. So if I can find it while you're waffling on. Go on, you say... So you think regardless of the rules, they should have special dispensation just for Portishead Town?
Yeah. Quite honestly, I think... Unless there was reasonable evidence to suggest that they were deliberately slowing down the process of trying to meet the requirements for their stadium, which I can't really understand why they would do, because that's not going to that's not going to help anything. They say that they'd ordered the new stands, they'd had them constructed, and that they were awaiting the installation, but it was health and safety issues that meant it wasn't safe to proceed. But I think the question is what were these health and safety issues? Why weren't they identified before all of this had happened? And can it reasonably said that these are standards and issues that could be met with a bit more diligence until June, because there's still the season isn't going to kick off again in June, so you'd think that they'd still have a bit more of an opportunity to put it right and show that they put it right. But again, why have they been allowed to play in a league where evidently
I'm assuming they got promoted last season, didn't they, into the Southern League? Is it the Southern League Premier Division they're in?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that they got promoted last season, and they were given, as you are, if any club gets promoted to the higher level, they're given that period of time between then and the 31st of March to meet the criteria. So you don't have to meet the criteria immediately. So even though you're moving up, you can still have the criteria for the division that you were in, but because you're moving up, they give you grace. In order to that. And listen, I only read something the other day, and I can't find it, but suggested that the process might have been slowed down because the club wasn't really ready to take a further step up.
Well, couldn't they take voluntary, if they finished second, could they not do what #United had done and just taken voluntary demotion out of the playoffs, but still retain their place within the Southern League?
No, because they've not met the criteria to stay in that division.
In the Southern League.
In that particular division. So I'm assuming they got promoted the season before.
Maybe.
Well, they'd have had to, because if they fall foul of the ground grading, it's because they didn't achieve it before the 31st March deadline. And you'd only set that target if you'd been promoted. You should already, if you've been in there a couple of seasons, you would have already reached the ground criteria for that level. I think it's been a sort of meteoric rise for Portishead Town to a degree, and one wonders whether it's been a comfortable process. When we talk about natural levels again, we just wonder whether they've skipped a little bit too
you might be right.
quick, but bounded into a division which was a little bit too difficult for them. But arguably, the rules are there for a reason. As much as I feel upset and disappointed for them and their supporters and all the hard work that they put in, you're given that, from the moment that you're promoted, once you're told that you're getting promotion to that league and you go to the AGM, that you've got that period of time to get things right. If you don't implement procedures to get it done within that timescale, then that's your fault. That's not the FA's fault. I don't know whether the league, because this was an FA decision, so I don't know whether the league would have said, listen, no, we're prepared to give them a little bit more grace. The FA won't. But it does throw up that question about whether people are taking liberties in terms of staving things off for as long as they can. It seems in this case that, you know, they quite honestly believe that they could get everything implemented before the end of June. But like I say, if a rule's set, I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I think there just needs to be some level of flexibility within the rules at some stage, you know, to ensure that teams don't get hit with, you know, unfair. Because I think, I don't know, there's part of me that just think it is.
Here's a post from somebody called 20s Plenty.
Oh, for God's sake.
It said, football hasn't lost, it's been educated today. It's a lesson that acceleration on the pitch has to be matched off it. Portishead have been unbelievable for 3 seasons now. Sadly, behind the scenes, they couldn't keep up. Hope people stick around to rebuild. And somebody, non-league Southern News says, I totally agree. This needs to be a teachable moment, and I've made it clear in the video that the club need to be held accountable. But I think both can be true. Football has lost because the hard work and efforts on the pitch have now been undone, unrewarded. But yes, 100% with you that others need to watch and learn from this. And it comes to, you know, sustainability and finding your natural level. So I think people have tried to answer the criticisms against the criticisms that have been aimed against the FA as well as, you know, in turn, logically, Portishead have come in for a bit of stick. But yeah, it's not nice because they've a lot of hard work has gone into it, but they missed the deadline, plain and simple. You know, I think people that have been in a similar position before.
Well, that was us once upon a time, wasn't it?
Well, we were kicked at. We were demoted from. We didn't get any special dispensation because we were relegated from the Northern Premier League West in 2023, was it? 2022, because one, our original ground failed the FIFA bounce test, so we had to move to Prescot in order to stay in the National League system. And but that particular season when we moved to Prescot's wasn't ground graded for the Northern Premier League West.
It was ground graded.
So even
for
though
the
we finished,
counties.
we finished in 11th place under Richard Brodie, and we still got relegated. So, as much as you can feel sorry for particular clubs, at the end of the day, the rules are there for a reason, and it's the harsh reality of football.
Okay, officer.
Yeah. So anyway, listen, we'll move on to the FC Alaman because we didn't know which way this one was going to go. Of course, the game between FC Alaman and Prescot Hayes was called off due to adverse weather conditions, high winds.
It was really windy.
And they played an hour of the game at this, something like that.
Yes, they had.
And Prescot Hayes were winning at the time, I believe.
Yes, they were.
So yeah, the game got called off eventually by the referee, and then they were told that they had to start the game again at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
Prescot Hayes turned around and said, "No, we can't do it. We've got injuries now. We've got to make sure that certain players get back to the UK because they've got jobs and family, whatever." So yeah, in the infinite wisdom of the league, and I don't think anybody really cares too much about this because I don't think would it have made any difference in the playoffs?
No, it wouldn't have done. It would have just brought Prescot Hayes into 6th rather than 7th.
It brought them a little bit closer, wouldn't it? So there was nothing to be gained from this, and I suppose FC Alaman will be happy that it doesn't have to be played. I
think Prescot Hayes would probably say the same as well because it's money and costs, isn't it?
Yeah, but in terms of, I don't think it was the right call myself. I think I've already said this before. I think it's unreasonable after you played over an hour in really adverse weather conditions and then expecting on a heavy pitch which it's, there's been heavy downfalls, there's been rain,
Yeah.
Gales, and then the following morning, 10 o'clock, expecting them to get back playing football.
And do it all again.
I didn't agree with that myself.
No, I think it's a bit nuanced, isn't it, really? For me, I think the best thing that would have happened is maybe you'd call the game then. Because I think, in my experience, if the progress of the game reaches a certain minute or passes a certain period of time, then the referee has the right to, when abandoning a game, award the result to whichever team is winning at the time.
Yeah, the rules are really, really bizarre when it comes to that. But yeah, I think to a degree it comes to a certain, I think 85 minutes, is it, or something like
75, I think.
Is it 75?
I think it is,
it was later than that.
No, I think it's 3/4 of the game.
I thought it was later than that, depending on the scoreline, but I don't know. The rules are so complicated.
Yes, they are.
But I think on this occasion, listen, they've done what they had to do. It saved FC Alaman money. But I think initially they got the wrong decision to play the game the following, or expect them to play the
full game. No.
I think if they'd have been in the playoff, if it had been a difference between that and the playoff position, I think Prescot Hayes should have been allowed to replay that game.
Or at least replay the remainder of it.
Yeah, I don't know whether you can do that. Can you do that?
I think you can, yeah. I think there's been... what would you call it now? There's history.
Yeah, precedence.
Precedence, that's the word, thank you. Of teams who've played like the final 5 minutes of a fixture because they were unable to fulfill it in full at the time. So things like that do happen. They have happened in the past, and I think that would have probably been the sensible call to do that on the Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, is to replay the last half an hour of the game rather than the full 90 minutes of it. I think that would have been the best option. But, I can see why Prescot Hayes would have needed to get back. There's so many logistics to playing the Isle of Man more than any other team. And I don't think it's right that they could, possibly be told, A, to play a full game, what is it now, sort of 12, 15 hours after the original one. And then... eventually go and fly back to the FC Isle of Man to try and take up the fixture again at a later date. So, I don't... If it had been me, if it had been the 60th minute, that's what I would have done, or I would have called the game for Prescot Hayes if I knew that it wasn't going to get replayed.
I think that if promotions had been dangling by the result, I think that's I think sense and sensibility in the end, of course, but... listen, it doesn't matter because it didn't make any difference to the finishing positions. But listen, just another breaking news is that Adam Lakeland has been appointed as Morecambe manager. So as we know, Morecambe got relegated
from the National
League, and Jim Bentley being the manager. We think he's staying on in some kind of role there.
He is, yeah.
But Jim stepped to one side, and Adam Lakeland has been appointed manager. That was 20 minutes ago.
Who is he? What's his background and history?
I don't know.
Good.
I'll let you look at that while I waffle on, because we were looking at the possibilities. Yeah, there's loads of finals on, isn't there? Crikey, there is loads of finals on. Mm-hmm. Just when you think the season's finished.
Nah.
So, anyway, we'll look at that here.
So, we'll look at you. Okay, so, Adam Lakeland.
Adam Lakeland, who is he? Do we know?
Very well, not an awful lot.
Anyway, he's got the job.
He's got the job. So he's actually, he was at Halifax Town before this. He was at Kings Lynn Town prior to that. He's been coach of Blackburn Women and Curzon Ashton. Farsley Celtic as well, when he guided them to promotion into the National League North in 2019. After Farsley Celtic, he went to Curzon Ashton, Kings Lynn Town, FC Halifax Town, and now Morecambe.
So he's got a bit of a pedigree.
He's got a little bit of a pedigree, but arguably this is his biggest job, with the greatest of respect.
And Morecambe seems to be the type of club that will give big breaks to people that have not really got a great deal of sort of hands-on experience. Well, that's what you're alluding to. Anyway, listen, breaking news from the state. This is a statement from the Board of Directors at Portishead Town. So, breaking news. After many years' service to the club, Chairman Adrian Green, Finance Director Chris Sony, Chip Wright and Andrew Jones have decided to step down from the Board of Directors at Portishead Town Football Club Limited. Since their involvement, the club has made huge positive strides forward, both on the pitch, successes of all ages at all levels, as well as major improvements that have been made to their Bristol Road ground. Their contribution has been immense. This growth and development of the club has been augmented with their sound strategic financial decision making that's enabled the delivery of many projects that have made significant benefit to all members of our club. A small number of examples being: 1, the merger of Portishead Town with Portishead Juniors and GVG to create one of the largest community football clubs in the southwest. We now have over 1,100 members. This new structure enabled the newly merged club to finally meet the strict criteria for grant funding from various sources that in the last 6 years have seen the club make successful applications now exceeded over 1.25 million. Number 2, the successful negotiation of a 100-year lease with our key club partner Portishead Town Council, therefore securing a long-term future at Bristol Road. 3, preparation of our artificial grass bed. This took 2 years and involved over 400 hours of hard work, mostly conducted during the working day, to deliver a successful bid that resulted in the installation of a fantastic first-class artificial pitch. 4, the sound management of the investment in our club facilities that include the AGP in above, improving our grass pitches, our clubhouse and many more. This investment now exceeds 1.4 million. The list could go on and on. The financial cost to our club for all the above was absolutely nothing, zilch, just dedicated to the cause of improving our football club for all concerned. These decisions have safeguarded the future of the club for all our members and the wider local community. They have left a legacy for future generations to enjoy sport, and particularly football, at Bristol Road. The leadership of the board and the role of chairman will be transitioned to Grant Jeffries, a local resident and current member of the junior committee. There's much work to be done in the off-season as we set in place an action plan of works to enhance and develop our facilities in order for all members to excel and enjoy their football. Grant will set out his immediate plans on Friday the 1st of May. What do you make of that?
I mean, I'm going to need to read that through about 3 times because that was bleeding lengthy.
It was a bit. Okay,
it just seems like they're rage quitting.
Yes, they've taken a fair bit of criticism by the sounds of things there, and as a result of that, they've come out rather tarnished. Listen, there's no way of replying to it. By the way, they've blocked the replies, so nobody's going to be replying to that.
Exactly.
Sad state of affairs, whatever way you look at it.
Yeah, it is very sad state of affairs. I don't think rage quitting is the way to do it. I mean, yeah, they've made some amazing strides for Portishead Town. I don't feel like this is the end of what they can achieve, though. It's not like they've taken them as far as that they can. You know, they're unhappy with the way they've
been treated by the FA.
Yeah, which you can understand and you can sympathise, but
you don't walk away from a club.
Of course you bloody don't. No.
You fight back, don't you?
Yeah, that's the idea. Or you rebuild. So that's 4 key members of the board gone. And it's been passed to a member of the junior committee. Although I suppose, in fairness, that's like you handing over the reins to me, really, as a junior member of the committee. I could do a job. But anyway, the point is,
the job is yours over his head. Do you remember that one where Only Fools and Horses, where they...
I don't watch Only Fools and Horses.
Oh, you did not watch it?
I keep telling your son this. I don't think he's quite got the...
Oh, you're going to start watching it, from scratch. Come on. It's fantastic comedy. It really is. Really good. Anyway, let's moving on. Abbey Hay's manager Simon Heaton has resigned, citing budget cuts. Apparently, it's been reduced from £800 to £500. Although not a large sum, I think it makes a huge amount.
Evidently, they are looking towards building that budget for the plastic pitch that they set up a crowdfunding for. That brought in about £300.
Is this the same club that are looking for new board directors as well as that Main Road?
No.
Between the two?
No, Main Road are looking for a new chairman and board of directors, and by the look of things, they'll be having to do that from the amateur Manchester leagues. But Abbey Hey
managed to avert relegation, didn't they?
Yes, they did. They did it with a little bit more style and flourish than what we thought. They weren't even the next team, the last surviving team. But I can understand why the budget cuts are being put into place. I suppose it's like most teams, really. It's kind of safeguarding the future of the club and looking at, investing that money into something more long term than the playing budgets. I suppose for Simon, he's done his job there in keeping Abbey Hey in the division. Probably wants we'd be looking at a new challenge. Feels like he can't work with £500 a week budget, which I get. That's. What is that now? That's probably 40% of his budget gone, near enough. And it's going to make things a bit difficult for Abbey Hey for £500 next season. £500 a week next season.
I suggest that £800 a week budget is relegation money. You know what I mean? So he's done extremely well to keep them up on that.
Yes, he has.
Almost impossible job on £500.
I'm not entirely sure he'll be the new manager will be able to do that next season. It'll be a hell of a job if he does. But that's going to.
You know what though? I always used to listen. I don't know, and I'm not trying to create any controversy here, but it is
controversial corner.
Yeah, but I always used to say to Tommy Lawson, "Listen, if I'm going to sack you, you'll know." The run up to it, because they'll cut the budget, because rather than sack you, you'll go of your own accord. So I'm just wondering now whether the chairman's thought, oh listen, I'll reduce the budget so that the manager will resign, and when the new manager comes in, all of a sudden this big budget will come up and he'll have more money. I don't know, but I mean, it's one thing to turn around and say you've resigned from your job or parted ways. I don't know whether did they say parted ways or he just left the job.
Yeah, he's just left the job.
But I don't think you need to tell people that the budget has been reduced from £800 to £500.
That's a bit unclassy, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, and maybe when he thinks about that, it's not really helpful to the football club. Let them discuss that with any potential manager. And who do we think might get the next job there? Who might be the next manager? Abbey Hey. I think they might give it to a local person, to be perfectly honest with you. But you never know. Could it be a return for Richard Brodie?
I think even Richard Brodie has his limits as to how far he's willing to travel.
Don't forget, though, he travelled to
Glossop.
Yeah,
he did.
And I'm not suggesting I've got any inside information here at all whatsoever, but you know what? Managers or ex-managers are hungry to get back into work, and you've got to start looking immediately rather than you can't wait around for you can't wait around for the perfect job to come along, can you?
Could be Glenhurst.
Well, it could be anyone if you mention Glenhurst. I mean, the other one that you might throw into the equation is crikey, what's his name? Assistant manager at Sandbach, who's left?
Derek Goulding.
I can't remember his name.
How did I remember his name?
I'm getting old, you see. I'm closing in on 59.
You are.
Jumped up to the eyeballs. And forget more have remembered. Anyway, so yeah, let's know whoever takes on that job. I think it's got
Big job.
They've got a job and a half. Moving on to City and Liverpool, it's unclear where they'll be playing next season, if they will continue to exist even. I don't know, but rumours suggest that a breakaway club has already been formed.
Oh, for the love of God.
Called FC Community.
No.
And from what I've been told that they will be playing Friday nights at the Marine Travel Arena Stadium.
For Christ's sake. What is the point?
Well, the point possibly is that these are the same group of people, I'm led to believe, that tried to take over City and Liverpool before the beginning of the season, and they didn't get their way.
Yeah. So they create a new club.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to be perfectly honest with it, I don't think the door would have been open to City and Liverpool to go directly to Marine's ground.
No, of course not. Why would they?
But with a breakaway club, it's totally different.
I mean, is it? I mean, it depends what kind of players you're bringing in there, to be honest.
The other rumour is that Witness will be playing some of their games at Marine.
Now, that makes a little bit more sense. That makes a bit more sense. You think about...
Because Witness rugby ground is getting torn up.
Completely redone, yeah. And it's
Is that plastic pitch, is it?
Yeah, it is. Because it hosts professional rugby.
I didn't realise rugby teams played on artificial surfaces.
Yes, they do. Yeah. So I think, if I remember rightly, I'm not sure how much this is. Widnes Vikings are in the same division, or maybe a division higher, as Preston Grasshoppers, who are the local semi-pro team in Preston.
Were they in the Super League at one stage?
Widnes Vikings?
Yeah.
God, yeah, they were. Yeah, they were the very first rugby team I ever saw was Widnes Vikings. They played Huddersfield Giants. But yeah, the Vikings have quite a long history of being in the Super League, in the Super League. So, whereas rugby is now much more artificial turf played. That can be quite difficult on the skin integrity because it's, less chance of twisted knees or just terrible states of pitches, to be honest. So I can see why they're doing it. But yeah, for Widnes, I think that's a good notion to get themselves in with Marine and start playing there. I think they'd have a good turnout there.
I wonder whether it's Widnes Town or Widnes Rugby League that are going to be playing there then. Oh, they can't play there because they haven't got the posts. Just imagine the balls flying over. You'd never get your balls back.
No, you wouldn't. No, trying to kick for clearance.
I wonder where Widnes Vikings are going to be playing then. If that's true, by the way. I mean, I know somebody just told me that on Saturday. But begs the question, by the way. Forget Widnes Vikings, but in terms of Widnes applying for the Northwest Counties, did they originally? Well, they would have had to apply before the 31st of March. So unless the decision was made after the 31st of March to dig up Viking Stadium, then they'd have had to have a ground share in place with someone. Yeah. But none of this... The plot thickens. It does. I know. I've not heard anything from... No. Well, I mean, listen, I've not seen anything, but somebody told me. I don't even know that it was Caleb, but I've not seen anything to back that up at all. Jesus. But an interesting one nonetheless. But what do you think of a breakaway team? More? I can't be arsed with another frigging breakaway team. More dilution? Why coming out of Liverpool. Come and join Scam United Football Club and help us. Yeah, you tell them that. Yeah. So, FC Community, if you listen... Just get on board with them. Actually, yeah. Why don't you message them? See if they want to come on board. Yeah. Worth a try. Yeah. See if they can bring a bit of that so we can start shooting up the league. We're back bottom again. Well, why don't we just ask Clay Brown? Shirley FC. Shirley FC, yeah. But listen, it's been an interesting season. I know there's a little bit more to go before the end of it, and there's going to be a lot of management jobs coming up. There's going to be a lot of changes here, there, and everywhere. Yeah. I think it's been an extremely interesting season. It's been brilliant. I'm glad we stuck with the Northwest Counties with the podcast, because a lot of people thought, well, when Scam get relegated, what happens to the podcast? And then, of course, we've had people that have been in touch with us that it's been a find for them.
It has, yeah. We received a lovely little message from somebody who's a fan of Nelson Football Club, and he said that he really enjoys listening to the podcast and the coverage that it brings his football team, and we are more than happy to oblige with that. So we will keep going with North West Counties, even if we are not in it.
Yeah.
For now.
And we don't get a great deal of feedback off the North West Counties, but we do, by and large, put them under the spotlight. And
we certainly do.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find...
have we had a nice message?
Yeah, I'm going to look for the message.
From the North West Counties, we've had a nice message.
No. So anyway, the message on the Speaking Frankly podcast...
We've had a message.
A bloke, Chris Schofield, who said, your podcast has been a great discovery this year, and I've enjoyed your coverage of every team, including my local club, Nelson. It's been a journey watching them this season and enjoyed some highs and lows and highs again. Looking forward to the next episode and next season. Up the Admirals.
What a nice message. Look at that.
Yeah.
Cheers, Chris.
He said, I have my fingers crossed that the Alaman is still in the division we are going into and not moved, as I believe may happen, as that has to be a bigger away trip than Ramy. A bit further than down the road.
Jesus.
But yeah, I think anybody going into the North West Counties Premier Division, that's the first fixture you'd be looking at. When are we going to be playing them? In the summer, just before Christmas. I think Prescot played them just before Christmas once.
Honest to God.
Yeah, they have their Christmas party in one of the pubs there.
Sounds great, that. Some good investiture into the Isle of Man's economy.
I'd love to be going back to the Isle of Man. But I think what we should do is, I think we should go over there and record a show in the Isle of Man.
How on earth are we going to... In the bowl? My God. It'd be freezing.
Yeah. Anyway, listen, let's move on to Skelmersdale United Football Club, as we do at this part of the show.
A frustrating weekend, to say the least. We were beaten 5-1 at home to Liverpool Nalgo, a team who've beaten us twice already at similar canterous score lines, and Saturday was no exception. We were well beaten by 4 aerial dominated goals and then a very fine individual strike, which just compounded our misery.
But it wasn't a 5-1.
Okay.
Arguably it is, because the statistics say that it was 5-1 that we lost, but
yes.
I just feel as though we made fundamental mistakes and we didn't learn from them. So anything that was aerial, crosses, corners, set pieces, they've been warned.
Yeah.
I was really, really cheesed off. I was really, really cheesed off. So angry. Yeah. I left slightly before the end of the game, and I thought I'm best off leaving because I've got myself in a bit of a tiz here. And I've not done that before. And the one thing I did say, I shouted, and you can hear everything in that stadium, can't you? It just bounces off the fence and the 2 stands. And I'm sat in one of the stands, and I've just said, all that I want to see is, I want to see you create a voice. I want to see you talking to each other. I want to see you showing passion when you need to, and don't give up. And I just felt as though we were still in the game at 2-1. Even at 3-1, we're still in the game. But as soon as that third goal's gone in, that's it. Then our heads have gone. And we just couldn't get ourselves back into it. And you could arguably say, well, to a degree, they sort of lifted their foot off the pedal a bit, and there was a stage where we come back into it, but
we had some chances.
We couldn't do anything in the final third.
No, couldn't. It just, that last ball was just missing quite constantly. You know, the radar for goals was just slightly askew, and you know, we had multiple chances. They just didn't go. They just didn't hit.
So yeah,
deeply frustrating game.
Frustrating, because I say this and I mean it in no disrespect to Nalgo, because you know the scorelines suggest different, but I do think we're a more talented bunch of players. I think individually we've got better players than they've got.
Yeah.
And once we can put all this together, maybe with a few additions in the close season, which will be, it'll be a very, very short window now before we start training again. I think we start training mid-June. So what is it now? May? tomorrow.
It's the season finishes for us on May the 9th.
So about 7 weeks.
Oh, God, really?
No, it's not even 7 weeks, is it?
It's got
6 weeks.
Really?
6 week gap before we start training again.
Or pre-season up at Tanhouse.
Listen, I can't give more detail now, but hopefully at the end of June we might be subject to FA approval. We might be involved in a mini tournament. Certainly we're being invited into this mini tournament. We're hoping that
sounds good.
That goes ahead. Yeah, that'll be great. So that means that we will have to start pretty soon to get ourselves fit.
Yeah.
We've got 1 or 2 friendlies half lined up. I think we've got Saturday the 28th of July. We'll be playing Ashton Athletic at their place.
Cool.
I think that's been confirmed. I'll just check on that.
When are we playing Remica?
Well, they can't host, and neither can we. So that's a bit of a problem.
Balls.
I know. That's what I was thinking.
Ugh.
Oh yeah, just looking just to confirm on that date. Yeah. So sorry, Saturday the 25th of July, I should say. We've got a pre-season friendly with Ashton Athletic at their ground. It's all been confirmed.
Broxteeds Park, this one.
Yeah, I would imagine that's going to be a 3:00 kick-off.
Sure.
And yeah, listen, it'll come together slowly but surely.
Yes, it will. Fine. Yeah, so this Saturday we pick ourselves up and we move ourselves over to playing River Football Club away.
At Long Lane, Aintree.
At Long Lane in Aintree, yeah. I am not there for that, so I hope the boys do me proud in my absence and gives us another chance to pick ourselves up off the bottom of the table again. Because we've gone back down there, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I think we've still got a game in hand on MSB Walton.
We do have a game in hand on MSB Walton, yeah, so there's just 2 games left. And we
felt as though we got to beat Aldo. I really did. After watching them play against Waterloo Dock.
Well, that was our opportunity, wasn't it?
I felt as though it was a golden opportunity. But sadly it didn't work out. So we've got, as you say, we've got 2 games. We've got that game and of course our final game is Granby Toxteth. We've already beaten them once.
Yes, we did.
So there's no reason why we couldn't we couldn't do the double and, like you say, just finish above that bottom spot. It's been a tough old season, but we'll talk about that more. We'll talk about that more when we get closer to the end of the season.
Sure.
Just to announce that our players' presentation night will be on Saturday the 9th of May. That will be at Newborough Sports Club around about 7 o'clock. So everybody's invited to that, no charge on the door. Disco, karaoke maybe darts, I don't know, whatever. We'll have a fun night at Newborough Sports Club on the 9th following the Granby Toxteth game. So you're all welcome, all supporters, friends and family. Just let us know if you're coming so we can cater for you, because there will be food on. But listen, don't be too disappointed if you turn up and you don't get any food. Well, if you've not told us, then that's your fault, not ours.
Jesus.
But yeah, you're more than welcome. So listen, we've already determined who won last week's
it was me.
It's even shorter this week because there's not a great deal of fixtures. So
should be
exactly
as it stands now, really?
Darwin are playing Runcorn Town in the Edward Case Cup final.
I'll be halfway through that game. I think that's a Runcorn Town win.
Yeah.
Final game of the season for them. They're going to go all out.
Well, that's not working. I'll have to get another pen. So, a box of pens. We're going to have to. Normally, I lick it. You see. I lift the end of the pen and it works.
You wonder why you're not well.
I know, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I'll go for Runcorn Town as well. So the first of the Division 1 North playoff, well, the only playoff final is Droylsden versus McGull. Will we both going for Droylsden?
Droylsden, yes.
Yeah, I'm going for Droylsden on that one. Saturday the 2nd again, First Division South playoff final is Eccleshall versus Stockport Georgians.
Eccleshall.
Yeah, going
Liam Kelly and the lads.
Here, yeah. So the big one is the playoff final in the Premier Division. That's Padiham versus Chadderton.
I'm going for Padiham.
Yeah, and this is where we're probably going to go like for like on most, but I'm going to go differently here. I'm going to go for Chadderton.
Right, okay.
So the Macron Cup final is on Monday, Bank Holiday Monday. That's AFC Liverpool versus West Didsbury and Chorlton. That's played at Accrington Stanley, great little venue there, the Wham Stadium.
The Wham. I'm going to go with West Didsbury and Chorlton for this one.
Yeah, well, everything sort of says that I should be going West Didsbury. But you know what? AFC Liverpool, springing surprises left, right and centre. I'm going for AFC Liverpool.
All right, then.
And Saturday, the 9th of... we'll be covering that in next week's show, won't we?
We will, yeah.
Yeah. Should we mention it anyway?
No.
No. Okay, we won't. So that concludes our predictions for...
Just the 5 games.
Just the 5 games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, yeah.
Do you want a decider or not?
Well, we could have a decider, but I think the fact that I've gone for 2 different results might be a decider.
Well, yeah, but if I win one of them and you win one of them.
Let's go for the attendance at Droylsden.
The attendance at Droylsden.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 1,200.
Right. I'm going to go 1,200.
Let's say 1.
And 1.
Oh, fuck off! What is the matter with you?
Yeah. I've got a feeling it could be more than that. I've got a feeling it could be as many as 1,500, to be fair.
I don't know.
But I don't think McGull are going to bring a great deal.
You would have thought that they would.
Well, they didn't to the other game, did they?
Well, no, but I mean, parking is an absolute like at Jericho Lane. Like, we've been there a couple of times this season.
It's not too bad, is it?
I think it is.
But it is if you've got everybody that's all the kids down there at the same time.
Which you probably would have done. And the rugby pitch as well.
Outside. We parked on...
we parked on the roadside.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. Not great.
No.
Anyway,
so that rounds up this evening's show. A little bit shorter than normal, but less to talk about with most results and all significant things concluded.
Near enough.
We know who won the leagues.
Yes, we do.
We just need to know now who's going to win the
playoff
finals. But best of luck to everybody in those playoffs. So what have you learned this week?
There's absolutely no need whatsoever to keep forming fucking breakaway teams in Liverpool. Stop!
Oh, right. Okay. Bit of bitchiness there.
It's impassioned and aggressive, but no. I think the real thing is try. We've emphasised this before, so I'm going to just keep saying, just invest in something that's already there, because with each new club that is established, it pushes the already existing ones closer to peril, and actually just makes it a wholly unviable environment for all the teams concerned. So we've got another one in Liverpool.
I don't think we're ever going to have a club that starts from scratch doing as well as FC United.
No, I
can't see anybody. It's difficult because if you're starting from scratch, you've got a ground share with someone, and then at some stage you've got to plead with the council to find your ground. And I think when you consider that Scam United Football Club, kicked out of the league because they didn't fit the criteria, because a establishment that we shared or that we had an agreement with failed the FIFA bounce test through no fault of our own.
Nope.
We didn't get, we know that the process to get back into Scam is extremely slow, and it's difficult. Councils right across the northwest, they haven't got millions and millions of resources to help football clubs out.
No, but
and the argument is, should they be? I know FC United slightly different because they did a lot of fundraising themselves as well.
Yes, they did.
Which was great, but I can't see anybody starting from scratch having the same level of success as FC United.
No, God. I think the ironic thing is that City of Liverpool did have something quite extensive to that at one point, but then it's wholly unsustainable. It's just all falling away.
But they didn't find a ground.
And they didn't find a ground because in Liverpool, patches of land are hard to come by.
Yeah.
Enormously hard to come by.
So that's what you've learned?
Yeah.
I've learned that you've got to get your house in order if you're going to take a promotion, as Portishead did, and struggle to get everything completed on time. That is in your court. You can't really blame it on the FA. It looks as though obviously the former setup of a little bit upset with it, and they've decided to resign en bloc. And
Petty.
yeah, I don't think I'd have done that. I'd have waited until the dust had died down a little bit. But you don't know what kind of
environment.
Well, you don't know what kind of stick they're getting or criticism that they're getting at the moment. But that should not be relevant at this moment. It's too early, isn't it? Too early to say I've finished.
Yeah.
Think about it a little bit longer.
Yeah.
You're not going to achieve anything by. It's not going to hurt the FA. It's not going to upset the FA. That the fact that they've resigned. If you want to fight, you've got to fight. You've got to go there and fight. Go toe to toe, nose to nose, and do it again. Just do it again, but get everything in place. It'd be interesting to see now whether all this stuff that's on order, whether it will get put in place now. One imagines they will.
The point now, yeah.
So they'd be prepared if they get promoted next season. They won't have to.
Well, how on earth do they rebuild their structure of the committee and the boardroom from here? Like as we know, a decimated boardroom equals a bit of a sinking ship. If you
There is a precedent on this though. Before because Cone Dynamos, as they were back in the 90s, they won back-to-back titles: Northern Premier, Division 1 and Northern Premier League, and because I think their multi-millionaire backer at the time, he didn't get his own way with the local council, I believe, allegedly, and that's why he decided to close the club. So there's a lot of, I think, the once chairman of Great Gretna Green that managed to get all the way from Unibond football eventually moved into the Scottish League, into the Premier League, won the Scottish. Did they win the Scottish Cup? Was it them or it might have been the other team further north in Inverness? Did Gretna? No, Gretna didn't get to the Premier Division.
No, I don't think so.
What am I? I'm talking Codswell up there. But what I'm saying to you is that he got to a point where things didn't quite work for him, and he spat his dummy out and he left the club.
Same as these, Mark.
And then they start plummeting then.
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
So yeah, just get your house in order. So I'll leave the final words to the dulcet tones of AJ Vergette.
You've been listening to the Speaking Frankly Football Show with me, AJ Vergette, and my co-host, Mr. Frank Hughes. This podcast is available on streaming services wherever you get your podcasts, including Amazon and Spotify. We are hoping to receive your rates and reviews. Please do keep them coming, as we do thrive off hearing your feedback. Please also subscribe to the show so that you can find out firsthand when a new episode of the show has been released. We're also on social media as well under the banner term Speaking Frankly Football Show. And so from myself and Frank, thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week for another episode of the show. Until then, very goodbye for now.
Bloody hell, AJ.
What's the matter?
I forgot to press the record button. Seriously?
Okay.
What are we going to do?
What the hell are you talking about?
I forgot to press the record button.
No, you didn't.
I did.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
I know.
I'm not doing it.
We've got to do it again.
Please yourself, I'm going home.
Alright. That's enough.
Fucking wasting my time. Fucking wasting my time.